ஒரே ஒரு நாள் உன் போன் அவளும் அவன் போன் நீயும் வச்சிருக்க போறீங்க. நாளைக்கு உங்க 2 பேருக்கு ஓகேனா எனக்கு டபுள் ஓகே.
Hello and welcome to Cinemondo. We're sounding a little husky today.
We're all a little under the weather for different reasons. Kathy's battling, the pandemic. I just had a knee operation yesterday.
We're a mess.
Lara's in the car with her daughter, so it's like.
But also recovering from sniffles and things. So
also recovering from illness.
Okay, so but this is the loyalty that we have to Cinemondo and our viewers. Like the post office, through rain, snow, sleet, do our pointed rounds and review movies.
You get to see us coughing and wheezing through this review. Everyone loves to hear that.
Yeah. No, but we can take a break from the coughing and wheezing and quickly recommend our YouTube channel, which for $2.99 you get emojis, shout outs, badges, priority replies. For $4.99 you're Mondo, and you get all that plus the member request videos. We have a fun Slack channel that you can come in and do requesting films and to review, such as this one, which is a film that just came out on Netflix on December 1st. Called Love Today, and
this has been getting good reviews too, so I was excited to see it.
Yeah, it came out, just came out. It's a Tamil language romantic comedy that was written and directed and stars Pradeep Ranganathan, who is basically does everything. He edited the film, he wrote it, he directed it. He's involved in the music. I mean, it's like his baby, and it's really creative. I thought it was just a really creative film about this mix of old world, culture and marriages where families aren't get involved in who you select to be your spouse or your potential spouse, and also the world, of this thing.
That's right.
And how this affects not only relationships but your life, and so that was fascinating to me, and I think they really captured that because they brought a lot of that into the video, like into the movie. There's a lot of obviously the typical stuff with the texting, but they went farther and did some other interesting things with the film medium to show kind of what the phone can do to you. So it was interesting.
Yeah. So the basic setup is this man and woman are having a relationship. They're in love. They want to get married. They have to go to her father and get permission, technically. So they go.
Playing dad, yeah.
And the guy that she's in love with, it seems like a really nice doofus. So, not like a serious rich businessman, but like a nice guy who's just making his way. Seems like he's cute. So they go to the dad, and he's like, "Before I give any permission, you guys have to change phones for the day, and you'll have to have each other's phones, and that's the deal." And they're like, "Okay."
Would you walk out at that point and say, "I've got a domineering potential father-in-law"? Who I'd like to say.
Well, I like they thought they had nothing to hide because both of them felt like they'd been very open with each other. They had no secrets. But guess what? Everyone has secrets.
Right.
Just kidding.
Right.
Whoops. So it's a great setup. And I also love that he had to carry around this little pink furry phone.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
It was so cute. So what I think was really fun too is not only did they have this cool setup, is that he filmed it in a really fresh, energetic, cool, graphic, like splashy way. Like we had great, like the comments were coming on the screen. They weren't just flat or anything. They were coming at you. Or he had the people behind him talking, like the chatting. So you get the feel of the overwhelming. And even just like the great music video in the middle of it where they have the camera turning and how he feels when he's in love and he's being dragged around because he's like a puppy following her.
Yeah, super
just beautiful effects.
Yeah.
Like, just really well done. Really fun. What do you think, Lara?
No, I loved this movie. I thought that, it had the concept just by itself is great because when you think about it, regardless of who you are, I don't know two people who, regardless of how open they think they are with each other, would be willing to swap phones with someone for 24 hours, let alone an hour, let alone like more than that.
Seriously.
So just the thought that neither of them thought they were hiding anything from each other, but they kind of were, like, just small things, little things that, they both were like, well, who is this? What's this conversation?
Yeah. Like, why did you send your ex-girlfriend some money recently? What was that about?
Right. Like, what are you doing? Why do you still have these relationships with people that you say you don't talk to anymore?
Yeah.
So remember, it reminded me of the world before cell phones, right? What did we do? If we were passing notes in school, we're all that age, right? Where we the notes that went back.
Cell phone. Yes, I remember it well.
We used to mail each other letters, pass a note.
We're ancient.
Yeah, interoffice.
We use paper.
we use this thing called paper and a pencil. Not even a pen. It was always pencil.
It's so funny.
But we could burn stuff. It's fine.
That's right.
You could get away with it. It's always going to be on this phone, even if you think you delete it. It really is still somewhere.
There. It's in a cloud, and the cloud is forever. And I don't even. So. It just.
I don't even ever. I get it. But I will say, it's also that, but it's also the relationship, each of them, Nikita had with, her sister, and also Revi, who is this guy that obviously was pining after her, and all that subplot. And he had all his buddies that all had put their 2 cents in, and and
always
did this
2 cents.
They were bringing their stuff in and just confusing them, and all because of the phone, because they're texting back and forth, they're getting involved in their lives, and so that just complicates things. It's actually a really complicated story in many ways. There's so much going on, but it all fits and all works. And there's great characters, like his brother-in-law, who was the ugly guy, the one that was called Dark Chocolate.
That was a sweet story.
Yeah. And that whole scene where, all these people, all these guys were sort of saying, my God, he's so ugly and all this kind of stuff. That was pretty heartfelt, sad to hear that. But that's the fun. You got these random trollers coming in and knocking you out.
Yep. And even his, her relatives, when she included him on the party line or whatever it was. And then they didn't realize he was on the line, and they start saying, why are you marrying him? He looks like a pregnant hog, blah, blah, blah. And they were so mean about it. And I like too that they sort of toward the end, and there's going to be a few spoilers in this, is that they kind of insinuate that he also had some weird secret. And then it turned out it was just like we were talking about the shame of him being bullied for being ugly. And then he ended up being the best guy in the movie. this guy that they said was ugly, and that was what was really sweet, because you're like, why would she marry this guy? He's hideous. And it turns out he's really sweet.
Really sweet. He gave that little kid who was just in the phone at the end. That kid I wanted to slap around.
That kid. Oh my God. The kid that starts peeing and they're running him out. He's peeing all over.
And I'm like, oh no.
Oh, it's terrible. And it's that classic thing where the movie has some really good laughs in it. They have a really complicated story. You're really intrigued because you're like, how is this going to work out? What's going to happen? What else are they going to unbury? And at the end, they have this really heartfelt, like it kind of all of a sudden soars into this really dramatic moment. He's all cleaned up, looks really good. He's got a suit on. He looks really hot. And then, she's all like, what are we going to do? And it has this great ending that all of a sudden becomes very serious. And it was like, that was kind of emotionally very satisfying. It wasn't like the surface like we get for romantic comedies where they're all kind of goofy and slapstick and lots of shenanigans, and in the end you don't really care about anybody. Nobody has any deep feelings. It's like, yay, everybody's together, whatever. But this one went a little.
No, you rooted for quite a few characters in this film, right? And it wasn't even the main characters. You also rooted for, the sister and the brother-in-law and just all of these other bits and pieces that like you don't ever think about, that are just throwaway characters in most, romantic comedies. And,
it's true.
And this was kind of something where they made them feel important and they were necessary for the film. Like you needed to have like those interactions with each other.
Yeah. And his friends were, I think, some of the good comedy where they were all the kind of like that movie Say Anything with John Cusack, where you have the kind of entourage who's giving you this really bad advice, and they're just idiots.
Terrible advice.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
They're like,
they're like, this is what you need to do, and you're like, no, don't do that.
No,
don't do that. Please don't do that. You're like, do you know your friends? They're not with people.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was
did worry about her stalker, that guy that was always there. And he
yeah.
was just kind
Yeah.
of, I was like, he does need to be out of her life. That is not a good thing. He's not your
Mhm.
friend. He's just
No,
waiting, you know.
And
he's a
it's
creep.
it was a
But
neat.
we all have had those people where you
Yeah.
don't want to hurt their feelings and they just keep kind of hanging on. And then, yeah, sometimes you just have to hurt their feelings. It's sad.
Well, it was a nice line where Nikita's sister said, "How would you feel if Pradeep had a friend who was a girl who was all constantly around him all the
Mhm.
time?"
That's right.
And that was a
Yeah.
real eye
Same.
opener for her, you know. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, but you know, okay, I get that." So there was a lot of smart stuff in
Yeah.
there. It was like some smart sort of relationship
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff going on. So
And I guess apparently this director, Pradeep, director, writer, actor, he apparently made a lot of short films, and he would tag all these actors and directors and producers as he posted them on Twitter and social media. He would tag them all saying, "Hey, be in my movies, look what
Oh,
happens. Sometimes dreams come true."
sometimes it happens.
So I
well,
love that his like his pure like passion and like go for it attitude where he's like, I'm gonna just post everyone, I'm gonna get everyone involved, and now he's making movies and he made a good film.
he,
Yeah.
he did. It was quite, and at 2.5 hours, you go, okay, 2.5 hour rom com.
I know.
That's like, but
fast.
it's really packed, and it's like
Yeah.
all of it sort of works. It's like,
Yeah.
because like Laura, you said, there's so many different characters, and they all get a backstory of some degree. Even going back to his college days in 2016, when he was
Yeah.
that guy who was, kind of pranked by his buddies.
Yeah.
So so there's like little minutes like that all work. It's like
Mhm.
it's not like stuff that's time filler. Sometimes you feel like
No, it never felt like I was watching the clock,
Right.
You
Exactly.
kind of just, you were like, oh, okay. You never got to that, like, there's that much time left. Like, what's
It's like,
going to
oh
happen?
my God, how are they gonna fill up another 45 minutes? This should be
Like,
over.
what's going on? It kind of ended. It got to the end, and I was like, oh,
because
well, crap. That was a 2.5 hour movie.
Like, wow, that
yeah,
went by.
because that last half
Oh,
hour,
okay.
half
Yeah.
hour, 45 minutes was really when Kathy, you said it sort of got serious, and we really got to
Yeah.
hear, like the mother,
Mhm.
instead of being, somebody who's just, keeps on yelling at his son, she has a heartfelt conversation about and feels for his
Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally. Like, oh my God, this mother. But
I did like her though.
no, I did too.
Get off
I
your
did
butt.
too. It's just the way, it's just a real character. So, but it all sort of came together, and you got those heartfelt moments at the
Mhm.
end, which you kind of wanted to see. It
Yeah.
slowed down a lot of the effects, and all
Yeah.
that stuff kind of went away and turned into a more serious,
Yeah.
last part of the movie. So,
And again, like we're not big rom-com fans. And so when I saw it, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll watch it. But it turned out it was so entertaining. It was so well directed. And
Mhm.
a lot of really cool cinematic flourishes and great cinematography and just really fun. He really wanted to bring extra to every scene, and you could see that. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really fun.
and some laughs. I mean, some
Oh,
actual
yeah, it was funny.
belly laughs. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
really laughing at this stuff. So,
That's right.
Yeah.
See, I think I have some notes. Let's see, where did I write down? Let's see. Oh, I liked the intro where they show how the phone is made. This sort of like
Oh, yeah.
intro
Me
to how
too.
phones are made. That was kind of cool, like putting it together.
yeah.
And then
Was that
I love-
CGI, Kathy?
I couldn't
The-
tell.
Okay.
I was
It
sure.
might be, but I don't know.
I have here something about the senseless statement, LOL. So I think the
Oh,
mother says
yeah.
something like, "What is that senseless statement?" I don't remember what the statement was. I should have written that down. We're talking about the camera work. The dance in such a horrible way. I don't know what that means, but I wrote that down. I do have COVID headphones.
I know.
Well, there weren't. I mean, there were music interludes in this, but it wasn't the
Mhm.
real over the top sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It was
Well, that
more-
one great one, like I was talking about, where he's like being dragged. He's like basically on a slant. So everywhere he went, he's just kind of like floating on this
Right,
weird
yeah,
slant.
right,
And they have the
Mhm.
camera like spinning and everything. Like, is that how you
Yeah.
feel when you're in love, or everything's just like, oh,
right.
it's really
right.
funny, but highly recommended, super fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't be turned off, because a lot of times I'll look at, oh, I don't feel like sitting and watching a 2.5 hour movie. And a lot of Indian films tend to run longer.
Yeah.
But this one flies by. You will watch
Yeah.
this in one sitting. You won't be like, okay, I'll do a half hour now, half hour in tomorrow, and I'll eventually get through it like a mini series.
In a week.
Yeah. So, frankly, sometimes I do that. You know,
I do that too.
Yeah. So, but it's really smart. And this guy has a future. I thought he was really talented. He can act, write, direct. He's one of those kind of, you know, all tool guys. Quite good. And every actor was good in it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So, okay. So rave reviews from this side of the world.
It's on Netflix, so it's easy to watch. It's
Check it out.
And it looks great, and it's, you know, it's brand new, very fresh. Highly
something
recommended.
different. Don't just watch the same old shit. You know, I know the Will Ferrell movies on. Fine, watch that, then watch this, or watch another. You know,
Exactly.
don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm kind of spinning in my head. Like, what did I just say? Okay, so we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining.